All right, let's dive right in. Welcome to the Wellness Rebel podcast. Or I guess I should say, welcome to the Wellness Rebel show. But today is going to be a solo cast so that I can share my journey with you so that you know who the heck I am. I wasn't the poster child for holistic health. I grew up in a household where we were fully jabbed as children. Every time we would have a cough or cold, we would have medicine. And every time I would have pain, as I grew older, I always had horrible period pain. I would always go to the school clinic and ask for a paracetamol, which is a pain reliever. It wasn't Tylenol or ibuprofen, but it's a pain reliever. So every time I would have period pain, I'm taking a pain reliever. It came to a point where my period pain was so terrible that I had to miss 2 days. The first 2 days, I would miss school because I'd be hunched over. It felt like someone was stabbing me from the inside. But fast forward to 2021, I graduated college. I moved to the States. And that's when I started experimenting with recreational drugs. I did start drinking when I was younger in the Philippines, but it was mostly beer, nothing hard liquor, right? So I first started with cannabis. I hated it because I didn't know how to use the bong. And then I tried ecstasy, and that was my poison of choice. So I was living a party girl lifestyle, right? For um let's say I would say around 5 years. My weekends would usually start on Thursdays and end on Monday morning because we went to, I guess there's still a Monday night. Never mind. Monday night social. So I had a really long weekend, right? I worked as a shot girl at these two Hollywood clubs. And so I was just really, exposed to the party lifestyle, people smoking cigarettes around me, the whole shebang. I also wasn't really eating the best. I wasn't eating fast food. I only liked In and Out, but I was eating a lot of to go food. So I wasn't really taking care of my body the way that I should have been. But I think it also was because I was young and I was able to recover quickly the next day if I did binge drink and whatnot and do ecstasy because we were young and we recover quickly, right? And so I never really felt like it interrupted with my life because I was still able to go to work the next day, all the things. Fast forward to 2010, I've had been taking Zoloft, Ativan, Xanax, and Restoril for my depression, anxiety, and insomnia. And you know, I thought that these pills would help cure me, right? No doctor ever said that these pills are just there to suppress the symptoms. So I wasn't feeling depressed or weepy or panic attacks and whatnot, but I was also not feeling any emotion. I felt dead in the inside. And on top of that, even though I was taking sleeping pills, I still wasn't able to fall asleep easily or stay asleep. So I decided to look more into what was going on, right? Obviously, when we're depressed and anxious, we think that it's a chemical imbalance in our brain. And, obviously now come to find out it's not really that straightforward. There's so many other factors playing into that. And, but that time I was obsessed with Biggest Loser and I had the biggest crush on Bob Harper. So I read the book Skinny Bitch because he had talked about it. And this book was about going plant based or vegan, right? And that made me make the switch, which I think helped reset my gut. And I think it made me feel better because I wasn't eating all the processed foods, right? It wasn't necessarily because I wasn't eating meat, was because I subtracted all the processed foods in my diet. From there, I learned about the book called No More Dirty Looks. Now, that book really blew my mind and really made me angry because I thought that all the products that were sold to us in the stores were safe, were tested, right? Just like some other product we know of that I can't say the name. But that kind of made something click inside my brain that what if all the toxic products I was using was actually causing such, hormonal disharmony inside my body that I was feeling depressed, anxiety, and I couldn't sleep. So I decided to throw out all the toxic products I was using and just slowly, you know, added back in shampoo, conditioner, and all these things. Now, back in 2010, there was not a lot of companies yet that were um, doing the whole low tox, non toxic products. So it was harder to track them and they were more pricey, right? My first shampoo that I got was John Masters, and that was expensive as heck. And I also don't advise people anymore to just throw away everything, right? Because we don't want to be wasteful and we want to be mindful of our budget. The only difference for me was I was single at that time and had no kids. So I was kind of able to do that, the whole change, without affecting anyone and without anyone protesting about the changes. And so I went vegan, I changed all my products, and I started feeling better. I was able to get off all the pills. I was able to start falling asleep easier and stay to sleep. And that just really made me so happy. Then I quit taking birth control around 2011, but obviously no doctor, no OBGYN ever tells you that you need to detox from that. And so a few months later, I got pregnant and then I had a miscarriage. But when I was having the miscarriage, I had already bought these books about alternative ways to give birth because I had been going with my sister to her OBGYN appointments and I saw how impersonal the visits were and how tedious, like you had to wait for the doctor, even though your appointment was at a certain time. And then you wait for them again in another room and they just see you for 5 or 10 minutes. So I didn't want that. And so I started looking on the internet, books on alternative births, right? So I decided to have a home birth and all these things. And then obviously I had a miscarriage. And then a few months later, I got pregnant again. And that time it stuck and I attempted to have a home birth. I was in labor for 3 days. The baby got stuck. Um, and I asked to go to the hospital because I was so tired and I was in so much pain that I asked for an epidural. Got to the hospital, got the epidural. The baby's heart rate went down, twice. And so then we did an emergency C-section. That was my birth that I had a hard time not recovering physically from, but I had a hard time recovering from it emotionally. It took me a long time to get over the failed home birth, and it took me a long time to process it. But eventually, I got pregnant the second time, and I kind of had to, hasten the process because I didn't want to have all those thoughts in my head about how my body failed and all these things before I tried to have a VBAC. I'm not going to talk about my births. I'm going to share that in the next few episodes. I'm talking about my low tox journey, right? My health journey. So I was able to get off all my pills, which was amazing. And then I decided to become a health coach because I thought that it would be easier for people to receive my message about toxins and how lowering your toxic load is going to help change your health drastically Yeah, so it was, the imposter syndrome and whatnot. And I never really um ran the health coaching business. I focused on a direct sales company that I partnered with. It was Clean Beauty, which they encouraged us to, have a community where we educate others about toxins in our products, like the truth about the, the ugly truth about the beauty industry. Because there is an ugly truth behind the beauty industry. It is actually very dirty and it's very corrupt. And it's one way of keeping us sick, right? And then I had I went on to have 4 kids. So that's 2022 and I was feeling great, right? As a mom, I didn't have the the common complaints of mothers, right? I didn't have postpartum depression or anxiety, didn't have low energy, brain fog, all the things. But what I had missed was I guess I had really low self-perception. My husband kept pointing out to me that I had low energy, but I never cared to admit it. Guess I was homeschooling our kids. I was taking care of our little farm, all the things, right? I didn't want to admit that I was tired. And then one day I saw a post about premature gray hair. Now, premature gray hair really got me curious because I've had premature gray hair since I was 16. It really, really piqued my curiosity. And so I reached out to the person posting about it and I decided to get a hair tissue mineral analysis. I'm recording outside, so there's meat bees all around me. Um, I, you know, I was breastfeeding, so I was apprehensive that if I did mineral balancing, that I would detox and the baby would get the toxins to the breast milk, yada yada yada, right? Um, so it took me a while to send in my hair sample, and then I also had an apprehension about doing the coaching call. I don't know why, but I didn't care for the supplement recommendations because I was very anti synthetic supplements. I was, I had like this close mind about keeping it food based and all these things. So I decided to share my test results with another practitioner that kind of did food based with some supplements. I did that. And the next retest that I did, which was, it was about, so it was, so it was a year later, a year and 6 months later. So it's 18 months before I took the retest because I had taken a course where I would be certified to be able to do functional lab tests. And I decided to do a hair test. And when I compared it with my previous one, there was very, very minimal improvement. And so I decided to open my mind and do the supplement recommendation. Who cares if it was synthetic vitamins, but they were targeted supplements to what my body needs. And it was going to help my body rebalance and replenish the minerals. But let's rewind a little bit because I forgot about this part, right? When I got my report for my first hair test, I was so mad because my report said that I had a pattern that meant someone was still very toxic. Now, that really was a gut punch to me. And I was mad when I read that. Because I had been living a low tox lifestyle since 2010. That's 12 years, right? 12 years of low tox living. Sure, I wasn't living in a bubble. We were still eating out and whatnot, but in our home, we were low tox. It was everything organic produce. The processed snacks were all organic with no nasty ingredients, all the things. So I was kind of upset to read that. And I had also learned that my body was in a catabolic state, which explained why after I had my fourth kid, I lost my, the pregnancy weight really, really quickly. and drastically. Like I went lower than my pre-pregnancy weight. My pre-pregnancy weight was 120. I was down to about 110, and I didn't realize that it was because my body was wasting away. So, it was really fascinating to me. That report really blew my mind. It made me realize that there is so much that we don't know about our bodies when we don't test, right? I don't see a primary care physician or anything like that. I didn't do any yearly checkups and whatnot, right? Because I felt very healthy. And then I did that and I found out that I wasn't that healthy, but I wasn't to the point yet where I was suffering from all these, like a laundry list of symptoms that it was interrupting with my life. I found out that my thyroid was sluggish, my adrenals were burnt out, and it literally kind of was like telling me my life story coming up to that point, even though it's just kind of seeing the last 3 months of what was going on. Right, because we have to remember that everything that happened to us from way back when is still affecting our bodies right now. We don't get a diagnosis, like overnight. Like, let's say, oh, you have diabetes. That just didn't happen overnight. It's been happening over the years, and then eventually it becomes a full-blown diagnosis, right? We have to learn and realize that symptoms, while they might be, you know, causing interruptions in our life, they make our life a little bit miserable. They're actually messages from our body that it needs help. So we need to stop suppressing the symptoms, right? We get a cough, we buy cough medicine. We get a headache, we get painkiller. We have a fever, we buy fever reducers, which our household hasn't done that since 2010. Um, I I've been kind of not on the big Harma wagon, and so we choose you know homeopathic remedies and whatnot. When my kid has a fever, we let it run its course because I know it's there because it's killing something that needs to be killed, and our body knows how to do that. If we're suppressing the fever, then your body is not able to deal with whatever it's trying to kill, right? We're just suppressing the symptoms, but it's still inside our body. So, with that fascination over the hair tissue mineral analysis and the report that I got, I became very obsessed with hair tissue mineral analysis and mineral balancing. That I went on to take, I kept trying to search, okay, what do I need to take so that I can order this lab test and offer it to the world? And I took two courses, which was Rick Fisher's and Rick Malter's courses. But then I found out that it wasn't gonna get me certified to be able to order the lab test directly from the labs. And so I kept on searching, and then I was gonna go between two certification courses, and I decided to do the IHP course because I really resonated with Dr. Cabral's book called The Rain Barrel Effect. That book, when I read it, kind of made everything connect. How I was able to get off all my medications by lowering my toxic load. So basically, we have this rain barrel, it gets filled up with toxins and all the other things we get exposed to that just depletes our body. And eventually it overflows, and then we get symptoms. Then, when we get a big stressful event, that overflow can turn into a diagnosis. And so that's where my journey begins as an integrative health practitioner who became obsessed with mineral balancing. And now, knowing how the body works, even though I'm able to offer all these other lab tests, right? Oat tests, gut tests, GI map, dual tasks, all these other tasks I can offer, but my first entry point, my first touch point, your first experience with me will be a hair tissue mineral analysis because everything in our body runs on minerals. Minerals are literally the backbone of our health. Minerals are needed for every single cell action, cell function in our body. We can do a candida cleanse, we can do a bacteria overgrowth protocol, a parasite cleanse, a heavy metal detox, all these things. And we're still not going to feel 100%, or we're not going to feel the way we thought we would feel after doing all these things because we're not giving the energy, sorry, we're not giving the body the energy that it needs to actually keep all these pathogens in check, right? Our body would still be hospitable for them to thrive. So I always start with HGMA and mineral balancing. Plus, when you do mineral balancing correctly, eventually your body is able to deal with all the pathogens and it will get rid of it in an order that your body thinks it has to go. We're trusting on our body's wisdom. Our bodies are very intelligent. So we're not forcing anything out. We're trusting in our body. And I know that this is going to be a very big mindset shift for everyone that I work with because we've been so used to the Amazon Prime shipping, right? Instant gratification. Why am I not feeling great after 2 days on my targeted supplements? Well, hello, you didn't get here overnight. You're not going to get better after 2 days. It's a journey, right? And it's like a peeling of layers of onions. Literally, healing doesn't is not linear, right? It's can be like all over the place. You start feeling great, then you won't feel great because you're gonna some past emotions gonna come up, and then you have to deal with that. But thankfully, your body has the energy to process it, and then it will go away. So yeah, I think this has been. I don't know how long this has been, but I hope that this kind of gives you a little overview of my journey of how I got here. So I wasn't ever born into a holistic family. I was living a toxic lifestyle. So don't ever think that just because you've been living a toxic lifestyle for so many years that you can't change and that your body can't heal because it can. I hope you click the subscribe button so that you can get alerted when I put out new episodes. I'm going to be interviewing a bunch of other practitioners to share their journey and a lot of other holistic people that will help you in this healing journey and keep you inspired to keep going.